BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team and our August 21st preseason football preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we're going to be taking a look at the Haskell Indians.
Yeah, and this is a Haskell team that finished last year strong to make the playoffs. Got 11 lettermen back from that 4-7 squad, including 5 starters on offense, 6 on defense. So a pretty good nucleus back for this year's group, but it will have some questions. We'll be addressing those here in just a little bit. But it should be another fun season in Coach Mitch McLemore's 4th year there at the helm.
All right, before we get going, we want to remind you, YouTubers, to please hit the subscribe button. And then after that, hit the little bell so you'll get notifications each and every time that we come up with a new video here at Big Country Preps. Dan, Coach McLemore back again for Haskell, has his system in place. But this year, there's a lot of youth to overcome. If we're going to look at some of the questions that we're going to be answering about this, one of the questions I would have right off the bat is, I know they got speed and they have a little bit of size too. They're not tiny, but can they overcome that lack of experience with their speed and their size?
And I think that will be one of the biggest questions for this group. So I do think that Coach McLemore likes the athleticism he's got with this group. He's got, like you said, some skill, got some speed, and got a few big boys there on the lines. But there are going to be some kids that they need to step up pretty quickly from last year's 6-3 JV squad. And I think one of the big questions will be just kind of how will that group develop, particularly during the non-district portion of their schedule. And will they do that quickly enough that they can compete at a high level once district starts? Another big question mark, and it's actually, I think, a positive for this team, is you've got a returning quarterback in Hagen Pinkerton, who as a freshman showed a ton of promise, 1,500 total yards, really a dual threat guy. The big question I have after making such large strides as a freshman last year is how much more development are we going to see from him this year? I think he's one of those kids you look at, and by the time he's a junior and senior, he could definitely be one of the area's top quarterbacks. And I'm excited to see kind of just the growth that he shows this year as a sophomore and what that will do for that Haskell offense.
All right, question number 3 about Haskell. Last year, if you look at the results that they had, they really struggled defensively against teams that were of the upper echelon. They would typically give up more than 40 points, close to 50 points per game against teams such as Stanford, Windthorst, etc. My question is this year, can they get enough defensive stops to start competing with those ball clubs? It's going to be tough given their youth, but that's definitely an area Coach McLemore wants to improve on.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a key for this team, and it is one of the bigger questions they're going to have to answer. I think this group has enough talent back to match last year's success, certainly, and to achieve a playoff spot in that district. But if they want to compete at the top end of that district with some of the teams that they're going to have to beat to do so, I do think they're going to have to show some improvement on that defense. One thing that I think is a positive for them is they've got some talent back in that defensive front, in particular, a good linebacking core. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that translates once the game starts on Friday nights.
Actually, I think one of the key things for Haskell in keeping those scores down, and it was a contributing factor. Coach Mack likes to run the football, control the football, and when you play a team of these upper echelon teams, and they can't run the football as well and move the chains and retain possession, suddenly the other ball club has more possessions and more opportunities to score on them. And I think that's, it wasn't strictly defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to control the football against the better teams. And that's going to be like a big question mark.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to want to be a little more complimentary. But looking at the Haskell schedule this year, pretty equitable non-district schedule, in my opinion. They open the year October 30th at Cross Plains. Follow that September 6th with a home game against Quanah. Then host Abilene TLCA for their third non-district game on September 13th. And then wrap up the non-district portion of their schedule at Anson for what should be a nice test on September 20th.
I like that schedule. I like the non-district portion of the schedule. It affords them the opportunity to get some wins. There are a couple of challenges there. Cross Plains not going to be a pushover, neither is Anson. But it gives them the opportunity to get some wins under the belt prior to district. And then they open with Petrolia on the road, but that is a winnable game to open district. So I like the way Haskell's schedule is structured. After that, they move on to a home game with Seymour on October 4th. They are at Monday on October 11th. They host Archer City on October 18th, and they have a road date with Windthorst on October 25th before concluding the regular season after an open date on the 1st of November. They face Electra at home on November 8th. On November the 8th. I like the schedule overall, top to bottom for Haskell. It affords them the opportunity to get some wins early and get to the playoffs, and I think they will.
Yeah, I like the way it sets up for them as well. For the reason you said, they got a chance to build some confidence in that non-district portion, and then right off the bat in district play, obviously a tough game against Seymour, but you sandwich that with winnable games against Petrolia and Monday. If you get off to a 2-1 start in district, things are probably looking pretty good for your chances of making the playoffs. So I like the way this shapes up for Haskell, and I'm excited to see what the Indians can do this year. I think it's going to be a talented young team. And it's going to be fun to watch this one just grow throughout the season because I think you're going to see a lot of growth from this group.
All right, and with that, it's about time to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series. But before we go, we want to remind you that August 21st is the big day here at Big Country Preps, where we release our annual preseason football preview. And this year we've got 5 new additions. Big Country Preps is expanding. We're moving into Graham. We're moving into Glenrose, Mineral Wells. We're moving into Miles, and we're moving into Toller. So we, instead of our base 40, we're going to have a base 45 plus 6-man schools throughout the area. So please be sure to join us for our expanded product on August 21st.
And with that, we appreciate you watching this edition of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be talking about the Albany Lions here at BigCountryPreps.com.